The World Championships was this past weekend in Anaheim, California, and with the number of participants limited to a very small pool from each region, this is perhaps the single most difficult World Championships of all time. In the end, we not only saw stellar performances from Smeargle and Ursaluna, but we even saw Brute Bonnet and Koraidon manage to take both first and second place on James Evans and the new world champion Giovanni Cischke's teams. With the World Championships completed and Regulation I finally over, let's go ahead and talk about what we saw this past weekend. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Okay, so the World Championships just wrapped up. I'm currently in a, what is this called? WeWork. I'm in a WeWork office space with some employees of Moxie Corp, and we're trying to get some stuff done so I don't have no videos going up. Or so I have some videos going up while I'm in California, because I'll be here for another week or so. But we're going to go over the results of the World Championships, just speak broadly about like what happened this weekend. I went as a creator. I'll probably drop like a mini vlog in a couple of days here, but yeah, let's just go over the results. Obviously, if you're here, you know that Giovanni Cischke won the World Championships with the Lunala, Koraidon, and most importantly, Brute Bonnet team. Now, Brute Bonnet is like a Pokemon that going into Regulation I, a lot of people were expecting to kind of pop off because it just has a lot of positive matchups. That proto boost on the defense, along with like having a good defensive Terra, makes it like super valuable. You're able to spore into a lot of threatening Pokemon while avoiding prankster taunts and just walling out Cali Ice and being able to threaten it with your sucker punches and seed bombs. And just rage powdering away even like powerful hits like Life Orb, Koraidon close combat if you're Terra'd is just super, super good. But yeah, I have a few notes here that I'm basically just going to read off of verbatim. But finals was between Giovanni Cischke and James Evans. James Evans was running a Cali Shadow Koraidon team, and Giovanni Cischke was running a Lunala Koraidon team. Basically the main difference here is that when you're opting for like the Lunala Koraidon team, you're kind of going for that soft Trick Room option, which we can see here. Lunala basically being the main Trick Room setter, if not the only Trick Room setter actually. And you're able to pair that with Ursaluna. Ursaluna is just an absurdly broken Pokemon. I think that we need to talk about it as far as like the best Pokemon available in Gen 9 VGC. Because what we've seen over and over again in these formats is just having a soft Trick Room option on a team with fast offensive options as like the main threat forces a lot of leads out of your opponent to be either like hard committed to stopping the Trick Room or being adaptable, where if you don't end up leading Trick Room, you're going to be able to deal with what's in front of you or switch around defensively and just, adjust to that matchup. James Evans here was running the Cali Shadow Koraidon team, and we see the Brute Bonnet, we see the Landorus, we see the Raging Bolt, and I can actually pull it up here. We have the paste. It's basically like standard sets on every Pokemon. This is sort of like a greatest hits of Regulation I we have in front of us. Terra Electric, Raging Bolt with Thunderclap, Dragon Pulse, Volt Switch, and Thunderbolt. What we did see from James's older teams is that James used to run a variant of this team with Ability Shield Koraidon and Galarian Weezing. And the Raging Bolt, I believe, used to be Terra Electric Electro Web for that further speed control. But this new version is a lot more defensive. That sort of variant of Koraidon has fallen off slowly as people sort of adapted to it, and it like kind of struggled into some Trick Room matchups too. So being able to run like a more defensive variant with like Brute Bonnet and a bulkier Raging Bolt does allow for James to play into more of these hyper offensive matchups. We even see like the Rocky Helmet on the Incineroar, which was actually huge in game 2 of like the finals match. This finals was absurdly intense. I think it was probably the best finals I've seen in VGC. And that might be recency bias, but I think if I go back and watch them, I haven't had as much emotion throughout the whole like set as I had with this one. I was like on the edge of my seat. At one point, like this whole finals was super cool. Like James Evans game 1 was in a dominant position for the majority of the game. Like he managed to wrestle into that. And then towards the end, Giovanni just picked up a very important KO, managed to get like a speed boost, I believe, on his Koraidon, and then just sweep through the rest of the team. And then in game 2, James is on his back foot for like the entirety of the match. And then eventually we ended up in a position where Giovanni had to choose which Pokemon to KO with Koraidon, because the Rocky Helmet from Incineroar, along with the Flare Blitz recoil and the Life Orb recoil, made it so Koraidon was going to be forced to KO itself. And because of that, he could only KO one more Pokemon, and regardless of which Pokemon he KO'd, it seemed like James would end up winning because it would be a 1v1 where Cali Shadow is going to be able to deal with either a Terra Water to Mungus or Incineroar would slowly win the war of attrition. Like, no matter how many freaking spores you get off in sleep turns, the Incineroar is just going to win that with enough knockoffs. So it was a really intense finals. Giovanni ended up taking it all in game 3 when they both kind of went sicko mode for some reason. Like, like game 1 and 2, they were playing extremely safe, and then both of them just threw caution to the wind in game 3 and just made like some absurd plays. James was extremely ballsy in some of his plays where he was just like, you know what? I'm not going to Terra in front of the Choice Scarf Chi-Yu. Like, he wasn't tearing out of like the grass typing with his Brute Bonnet in front of Chi-Yu and Fluttermane. So it was super risky, but it paid off. Like, that sort of patience is like why you saw him in finals. But yeah, this team is just absurd. Choice Scarf Chi-Yu along with Fluttermane has been a staple of the format. Their positive matchups into Cali Shadow and Cali Ice are like really notable. They also have like a positive matchup into opposing Koraidon, which is why I think that Giovanni was leading with that quite a bit. Like, even if James decided to lead with something like other than the Brute Bonnet and the Incineroar, which he did all 3 games, this duo was able to adjust pretty effectively. And I think what really made it super adaptable was the option for the Terra Stellar and the Fluttermane. While you do lose out on having like infinite Moonblast boosts from Terra Fairy, you just get like that extra boost on Shadow Ball, which next to Choice Scarf Chi-Yu lets you chunk basically everything, including resists, into range of that Heat Wave, which we did see in game 3. But yeah, this team was absurdly strong. Like, we just need to never sleep on Lunala plus Ursaluna. Like, Ursaluna might be the LeBron James of Gen 9. I don't know how else to put it. You could say like Fluttermane is more broken or Urshifu's more broken, but Ursaluna just, like, it threatens so many things that it carries entire teams on its back from the bench. So we just need to throw that out there. What else do I want to talk about? I mean, here's another thing going into this tournament. Let's look at Lab Mouse. Going into this tournament, Groudon was projected to be one of the higher usage Pokemon, and that's more of a recent metagame development. Groudon is a Pokemon that has some positive hypothetical matchups. Groudon is potential Mon for this format. It has a potential positive matchup into Zamazenta Cali Shadow. It has a very good positive matchup into Miraidon, and it just has like really solid damage output. Basically, as long as you're running a single target ground move like High Horsepower along with Precipice Blades, you're not going to be walled out by Zamazenta as effectively or Wide Guard Lunala. And that makes it a lot more effective. The only thing is, while it did have pretty decent usage, in fact, I think if we take a look at the day 1 usage, Groudon had 7% usage in day 1. It was the 8th most used restricted. It ended up having a pretty low conversion rate into day 2, as we can see from the Lab Mouse page. The highest place in Groudon was Justin Tang's, and Justin Tang ran, I hate to say like a Joe Ugarte team, but it does look like a Joe Ugarte team just because there's a Jumpluff. I guess it's not like a Joe Ugarte team, it's like a Chinese Sun team, but I just associate it with Joe Ugarte because of like all the times he's brought Jumpluff to regionals and major events. But yeah, Justin Tank ran this team. Jumpluff is as good as it's ever been. You know, it's a 110 base speed Pokemon that doubles in Tailwind. You're able to threaten Sleep Powders and everything. You're able to Encore Tailwind for the team. Pollen Puff is like a really good support move, but it also makes it so Jumpluff isn't like out of offensive options, because we have seen a lot of like purely support Jumpluffs. Having Pollen Puff there to not only heal your partner Pokemon, but also being able to threaten like KOs on Focus Sash Pokemon like Chenpao or Fluttermane is pretty good. But you know, 21st place at the World Championships being the highest placement. I think like the next highest placement was like around 40 or something. Yeah, 40 by Shunsuke Minami. A pretty different team with Groudon, but that's the thing with Groudon. Like, by nature, bringing Groudon to the World Championships is always going to be a huge gamble, and that's just because Precipice Blades is its best move, and it's only got like, what, 85 accuracy? Like, Groudon is known for missing. It is the gambler's Pokemon. Another thing we notice is a very low representation of Terapagos across this entire tournament. If we look at the usage, Terapagos didn't even break top 8 in usage. It was outplaced. It was used less often than Groudon and Kyogre. And while Kyogre isn't like a low usage Pokemon per se, it's always sort of been on par with usage as that Pokemon, and Groudon surpassing it is just like sort of the nail in the coffin that Terapagos just maybe wasn't built for this state of Regulation I. But yeah, I guess we can talk about like some metagame stuff that happened in this tournament, but it's sort of useless information other than for documenting it, because this is, as far as we know, the last Regulation I tournament. Going into the new season, we're going to be playing Regulation H, and then we're going to apparently be switching to Pokemon Champions. So that's going to be interesting. Let's regardless just like talk about what we saw though. I don't think any of it's like super surprising. We still see some classics from earlier Regulation I tournaments like Ho-Oh making their appearances. Ho-Oh, of course, has like a really positive matchup into Zamazenta Cali Shadow, which Zamazenta Cali Shadow is sort of like the duo that most people expected to see the most of over the weekend. And it was, I believe, in usage, the most common duo. But I don't know. It's sort of the workhorse duo. Like it's a core that you see quite a bit in this metagame that a lot of players just got like a lot of reps in with. But I guess the disadvantage of that is that it's one of the easiest duos to prep into. Everyone knows their Cali Shadow Zamazenta matchups. If they're going to the World Championships, that's just like a matchup that you can't afford not to practice. We also see some early Regulation I combinations here, like the Koraidon Lunala with the Electric Seed and the Ursaluna in the back. Of course, we still have the light screen, Whimsicott with Encore, Moonblast, and Tailwind, and we have like AV and Incineroar. I guess the most interesting thing about this team that did super well, Ko Tsukude's team, is going to be the Choice Band on the Urshifu Rapid Strike. That's just like a very difficult Pokemon to switch into without the Choice Band, and now at that point, like you're just not eating any hits from it. So it's a pretty interesting combination of Pokemon. James Beck placed extremely well at 10th place. James is in contention for being one of the best VGC players of all time, considering that it seems that every time the World Championships rolls up, James is in like top 16. So yeah, it's a little bit of a controversial take, but I think like James Beck has like a similar sort of World Championships history as Michael Kelch in that they're not like the world champion. They've never been the world champion, but they just consistently do well at this particular tournament, and that's something we shouldn't overlook. Michael Kelch, of course, took 6th place with Cali Shadow Zamazenta team. Michael Kelch apparently had very little practice with this team going into the tournament, but some notable things about this team is that, yes, that is a Dragonite. Dragonite is a Pokemon that we don't see a lot of in Regulation I, but it isn't a Pokemon that you should really overlook. Obviously, you have the Chien-Pao on that team. It's AV Chien-Pao, which is like super interesting. Yeah, that allows you to open up another slot for a second priority move in Ice Shard. That's super important into some pretty particular matchups. Choice Band, Dragonite, Terra Normal next to Chien-Pao is something that you can never really forget about. Extreme Speed in this format, not as popular or not as like useful as it was in previous formats where there were a lot less Pokemon that could switch into it. Obviously, Zamazenta is like a very difficult Pokemon for Dragonite to break. Cali Shadow is a Pokemon that can switch in on the Dragonite and just wall it out entirely because of its typing. But it's good matchups into, I guess, like Kyogre and like these other like I need Tailwind, I attack you sort of like archetypes is like super solid. Also, I don't think this format didn't have a ton of Farigiraf. Like Farigiraf is a pretty niche Pokemon in this format, all things considered. It was a lot better in Regulation G, of course, because you didn't have like a second restricted. But because of like the lack of Farigiraf and a pretty significant lack of Indeedee, I believe, in Day 2, it made Dragonite like a pretty good call for this tournament. So that's something we can't really overlook. Beyond that, this tournament was basically just the greatest hits of Regulation I. Beyond like the top cut, it's just a lot of what you would expect. I guess something that we should point out is that Smeargle did super well in this tournament, all things considered. Smeargle is a Pokemon that no one ever really forgets about. Everyone kind of hates it, but it's just super useful. You're able to have access to, your Fake Outs, your Spores, your Follow Me's, your Spiky Shields, I suppose. And I think one of the things that Smeargle does super well in this format is, of course, having access to Decorate. Decorate is Alchemy's exclusive move that allows for you to double your attack and special attack, even if you protect on the Pokemon that you're targeting. So pairing that with just super offensive Pokemon like Cali Ice, or I guess in this case, you might even Decorate into your Smeargle, or you might even Decorate into your Torkoal. Like that's like pretty notable. But yeah. I don't have too much more to say about this. I just wanted to like give a broad overview of what we saw at the World Championships, talk about that finals a little bit, and just give one last look at the Regulation I format as a whole. We played it for quite a while. How long were we playing Regulation I? I have people in the room here to help me out here. May. Since May? Yeah. So Regulation I was around for a pretty decently long time. But yeah, I guess that's all I really want to cover today. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll give you guys a brief vlog all cut together for, what I did on this little road trip to the World Championships. That might go up on like Thursday, Friday, we'll see, and then we'll go back to our regular programming on Monday. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.